It's 88.5, the SoCal Sound, the morning show with Nick Harcourt and Jet. That's music from the band Camera 2, which is a band formed by Andy Chase, who some of you may remember from the band Ivy. And I was talking to him a couple of days ago. There's new Ivy music coming for the first time in yonks. And there's a video for that song that I have a little cameo in. I spent a day in San Francisco, whenever that was, 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
And if you blink and you'll miss me. But I had blonde hair on that day for some strange reason. It was obviously before I stopped drinking. Hey, Pete Yorn is in studio. I think I've got the buttons pressed and speak. Are you there?
Pete Yorn.
Hello, mate.
Is here.
How you doing?
Hello. Good morning.
Nice to see you. I'm pretending like I haven't already seen you in the last hour or so since you got here, but good to see you in the studio. And we're going to talk about a new album, and you're going to play some songs. But the first thing I want to do, and I know I've thanked you before, but we're going to thank you again because we're live on air. And about a month or so ago, you performed for us at our fundraising concert, our Bennyfest concert, and both Jet and I had the good fortune to introduce you on that night. And I just want to thank you again for showing up because not everybody does, but you do, and we're so grateful.
Thank you.
That was a beautiful night, and I was honored to be there, so thanks for having me.
Yeah, I was just talking to Jet and mentioning how I've known you and Dan, who works with you, your manager, for years. And I don't know how many times we've done this, but it's a lot. And every time we do, it's just so much fun. So thanks for coming in and hanging out. Let's talk about this new record, The Hard Way. You're a busy guy. I mean, you release quite a lot of music, don't you? You know, sort of, you make albums every couple of years. I notice you've been putting out a lot of live shows as well in the last few years or so. You're very active on social media as well. And I think you do your own stuff, right? You do all your own social media stuff.
I do my own stunts.
Your own stunts, yeah.
I love it.
What about this going back through the catalog and releasing these live shows? I know it's something you've been doing a lot in the last few years.
I think it started because we record a lot of shows, and I feel like I've done tours where we record every show, and they're just sitting somewhere on a drives, and then there were a few that stuck out, and I think it was because of the pandemic. We weren't touring, everyone was kind of laying low. Really, we should put some of these out, and so that was, I think, what kind of kicked that off. And it's cool. We got a good show, good representation of some stuff live. It's cool to get that out.
And I know I've been to a couple of those shows. The Roxy one in particular, I remember.
Or live at the Roxy early on,
way back when. And as I said at the beginning, you and I have known each other a few years, and we're friends. I mean, we get together once or twice a year, have a cup of coffee, walk around the neighborhood, and if you're ever somewhere in the valley and you see this cool guy with shades who looks like Pete Yorn and an older guy with white hair walking with him, that's
we're
us.
overdue for that. We gotta do that.
We do. So tell us about this record. When did you start working on it, and who did you work on it with?
Yeah, this one, The Hard Way. I worked on it with this great guy, Josh Goodwin, who I'd met a few years ago, probably 2015. He mixed some stuff for me when on the second record I did with Scarlett Johansson called Apart. He mixed a bunch of those songs, and that's how we met. And I didn't hear from him in a long time, and then he reached out to me maybe I can't keep track of time, but I feel like it's like a year and a half ago now, where he just texted me out of the blue, and he was like, "Hey man, I've been writing some songs, like acoustic." He's mainly known as a mixer. He mixes a lot of like really big pop songs, big stuff,
Sabrina Carpenter,
but he's a big music
like
fan. He's talented. He could do anything, and he's just a superstar. But he said he was like getting into like writing songs and playing around with it, and if he could send me some stuff, and I was like, sure, of course. And from that, we just kind of clicked and hit it off and started writing songs together. And I like collaborating these days. I've written so many songs over the years, just like very solitary. So I enjoy collaborating with other people. It's nice to be able to do that sometimes. And this whole record's a collaboration with him. We kind of wrote all the songs together, and then we went to. This is an interesting record for me because everything we would write and arrange everything beforehand, before we'd even think about recording it. As mainly, like it was a full song on guitar and the vocals, and we knew how it was going to play out once we got to the studio. And so we get in there and we would just track, and I'd sing acoustic. I'd play acoustic and sing the vocals, and then we would see how that felt, and then we'd work on it from there. And he had some great players come in and play some beautiful parts on it. But yeah, it's fun to work over at Henson. I'd pull in every day, and I'd see Kermit the Frog staring at me over there.
The old A&M
studios.
studios.
On the right. And that place has a special place in my heart for me because we mastered my first record, Music for the Morning After, over there. And I remember like yesterday sitting there and being in that session. So it was cool to go there and work with Josh and do this. And yeah, there was a lot of heavy stuff going on through that. Like after we had started working together, some interesting things started to happen in my life, and some people might wish for stuff like this for the creativity, but
do you want to share that a little bit, or
I mean,
or
it's
not?
just some you get forced into a corner sometimes. Like what would I say? I'd say, well, it was crazy health stuff that hit me out of nowhere. I had some crazy health thing happen, and basically out of nowhere, I was like face to face with my own mortality, and so that forces you to either, rise above it and figure out new ways to look at life and change the way you would react to things normally, and change kind of what you're doing, everything that worked leading up to it, and somehow it started coming out in the songs, and my dad died in the middle of it. Mm-hmm. And so, but it's not a bummer record. It's kind of a record about, change is hard. I think the title kind of comes from change is hard, but, when you commit to something and you want to make your life better for everyone around you, including yourself, and you have no choice but to do that, then it's a hard road, but I think it's the important road to take, and it's all these songs are kind of informed by that in different ways. So yeah, but it's a celebratory record. When I hear it, it's like, it just makes me happy. It makes me, excited and proud of being able to kind of rise above a lot of adversity in my personal life. So
I've heard the album. It was sent to me a few weeks ago, as you know, and I'm wondering what the influences were on the music for this one, because it's definitely an acoustic-based album. And I mean, I hear things, but I don't want to say what they are in case I'm wrong. But you tell me, how does this record feel to you from the point of view of the people that you've listened to and the music that you've loved, and perhaps the acoustic-based artists that you've loved over the years?
Yeah, well, if you've been following me, which, I know you have, but over the last few years, since probably 2014, 2015, well, my God, it's like 10 years now. but I've been doing, touring with a band, but I've been doing a lot of acoustic touring, the solo, just me and my guitar. And although this record is presented, more full instrumentation than that, it had been in the back of my mind that I want to make a record that kind of represents that side of me and has that sort of just rawness and sort of stripped back sort of sound, and just present, as strong a song as I could write and say what I want to say, and just put that across without too much else going on, and see how that holds up. And so I think this is, kind of part of that.
I got about 3 songs in, and I was thinking to myself, this reminds me of Nick Drake. It's so beautifully stripped back and confessional. Is that a fair comment?
I'll take it. I'll take it for sure. There's one thing I will say I definitely borrowed from Nick Drake, and that song Someday, Someday, there's that, this right here. That little bit, it reminds me of, I don't know. Southern sky, something like that.
Yeah.
And I did mention that when we were recording. I was like, I want to do that because I love Nick Drake.
All right. So
I'll take it.
I get points, I think, for that. You know, you're going to play one more song before we bounce, but we got a question as well. I was just asking Jet if there was anything she wanted to talk about, and she was saying, yeah, there's a few people here have a question.
Yeah,
so.
It's actually a consensus question. So some of us here on the staff, mainly my friends Hillary and Byron, they want to know, if you were an animal, Pete, what animal would you be?
It's a deep question, so think about it for a second. It's like those are the questions my kids used to.
Some were saying maybe a bear, but you know, I mean, what do you see yourself as?
If I was going to be, I think my daughter asked me this question not too long ago, and the first thing that came to mind was lion because I'm a double Leo. But the truth is, I think it'd be cool to be a bird, like a big, like sort of
like albatross or an eagle or something.
Yeah, like some sort of an eagle bird, because being able to fly like that seems really interesting. And if I have some sort of power of shape shifting as well, on top of that, you know, that would be fun. But
That'd be amazing.
like a bird. I like birds.
Nice. All right. So question answered. We got about 3 minutes, so I'm going to let you play us out. What's the last song you're going to play for us?
We only have 3 minutes. Well, this song's 4 minutes, so.
Well, we'll have to run over then, obviously.
I wanted to debut this one. I never played it before. I'm nervous to play it. It's the title track from the record. It's called The Hard Way.
All right, and that comes out on Friday. Pete Yorn, thanks for coming in and hanging out with us.